the presentation is full screen, which is good. I can't see anybody, um, which is okay, and I can't see myself giving the presentation, but that's not the end of the world. Let's just carry on like that.
No, Dr. Zhang, when let's do the recording, he will have you on the screen. Only you on the screen. Yeah, no problem.
Well, I'd like to see. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that actually. I'd like you to start recording now so that we can see that and test it and not discover that there's a problem.
Tell you
Yes.
five,
Yes.
a few minutes.
Are you there? It's all gone very quiet.
I'm doing the recording now. I think everything is going well. Mm. Okay. I'm going to check everything is doing well, and I will send out and send back very soon.
No, it's
Well,
one.
it's coming up to 5 o'clock now, so I'm hoping that a few people will
Yeah,
start
yeah. Let's wait a minute or
to be
two.
arriving. And at the moment, I've just got the PowerPoint presentation,
Yes,
and I can advance it with the mouse, so that's fine.
you should be able to advance your slides now. Yeah.
I can advance the slides at the moment, yes,
Mhm.
but I can't see myself. But that, don't let's worry about that if that's going to cause a problem.
No, it won't. It should be all right. Show your sign in.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, let me
Uh, the video is good.
let me set you as a co-host. So now you can you want to do a Malcolm, you want to stop sharing and then let the child to show you what he recorded.
I just want to get set up so that we can just go ahead. You tell me what you want me to do. Do you want me to stop sharing?
Child, you want to play?
I think yeah, I can do that. Please stop sharing. Let me
You
show
can
you what I recorded.
you can stop. You can share and by stopping. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
Okay, wait.
I've stopped sharing,
That's right.
Yeah.
and it's still a mess. I prefer to go back to where we were before. I'm getting people on the top line, and I'm on the top line,
Malcolm,
and
that's a
and
recording.
I'm also to the right of the PowerPoint, but I'm not moving at all, so that's not live.
No, Malcolm. Child is playing. Dr. Zhang is playing the recording. Show you. You see the format. He will record. You will receive the recording like this. Can you see it, Malcolm?
Well, I can see the presentation, and I can see me with some sort of time lapse because it's not actually me speaking at that particular moment, and then I can see people joining on at the top,
Yeah, right now that's a
and
recording.
and I don't think that's really very particularly good. So I'd be actually happier with just the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
And
No,
oh,
no,
I'm now seeing lots of people.
no.
So that's nice. It's nice to see lots of people. but I can't see my presentation at the moment.
No. No, you need to go share again because
So I think well, why don't I go back to sharing?
yeah, can you go back to sharing, please? Yes.
Hello,
Hang on.
Go back to little screen.
who's there? Yeah. Who? Okay.
Okay, we are seeing your screen now.
Well, I'm gonna be tied up on a Zoom call for about an hour.
That's right, you mentioned
Right.
So it's all.
Okay, we
Are
see.
you there? I've now got my presentation
That's
on the
right.
full screen,
Yeah.
and I'm not there, but that's fine. The words will just have to come out. And so everything, I'm ready to go if you're ready to go.
Can I suggest that we all switch our audio off?
Yeah,
I'm
and we'll see you. Okay, we have 12 people. Is our Ross Mackley here? Let's see.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are? All right. For this.
Right.
Shall we start? I think let's. Lulanda, let me set you a handle, or maybe are you familiar with the Zoom? I need someone help also, maybe just in case some noise coming in and we need to unmute someone, you know, who can do the volunteering job.
I'm not sure I have the authorization to mute. I was
I
trying
know,
to mute somebody. I don't know whether I can mute anybody.
Maybe Gross, you are very familiar with Zoom, is that right?
I am indeed. I'll be happy to mute
right.
people if you give me authority.
That's
Yep.
right. Let me set you as a co-host so that you are able to help, you know.
Right, how are we doing? Are we?
We are going to.
All I'm seeing on my screen is my own presentation. I'm not seeing anybody, and so I don't know how many people have actually signed in, so to
We have
speak.
13 participants, and I
Well,
think
very
everybody
good.
hears
Okay,
you loud and clear.
so that's good to know.
Yeah, we
I'm
have.
ready to go whenever somebody fires the starting gun.
We can start. I can start. Now we have 15 people. I think let's start it. Yeah. Okay, Cho.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dora. Dora is on. Cho, you can. Did you start recording, Cho?
Yes, I did. I think I'm ready.
Okay, I did the same. I did the recording on my side also. So let's start with the presentation and welcome each of you. I think if each of you can put your name in the chat box, that will help us to when we do the editing. We can put, you know, we can have your name somewhere when we need it, and otherwise we can start. Morgan, you want to say a few words, or you want to just start formal recording, or you want to say hi to everybody, or what do you want to play? Or we can do that after your talk, yeah? We can do when we do the Q&A, we can have all the audience can talk to you. Is that all right?
It's fine. So just tell me when you want me to start, and I'll go.
Okay. Yeah, basically I will say a few words then, and let Ken as our honorary guest to say a few words. And either Ken want to introduce Gross, or I can introduce, then Gross introduce you, and then the floor will be yours after Gross introduced you. Yeah. So
Okay, that's fine. Why don't you do your introductions, and then I'll come in, okay?
all right, very good. Okay, let's start it. Yeah. Now we have about 16 people. Okay, so let me wear my screen. Okay, hello everybody, and good afternoon. And my dear friend, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to today's special gathering of the Polymer Fluids Group alumni. We are connected because we are sharing our history and experience. And because we have a common keyword, Cambridge, where we learned and where we grew. And because we have a common character or our advisor or mentor or our friend, Malcolm Mackley. So today is both an honor and a privilege to reconvene you with such a assembly. So we are very fortunate to have two honorary guests here today with us. Please allow me to introduce Ken Smith. Professor Ken's academic journey is deeply rooted in MIT, where he earned a science of bachelor degree and a master degree and a PhD degree in MIT. His research has significant impact on fluid mechanics and transport process. In recognition of his outstanding achievement, Professor Smith was elected to the National Academy of Engineering in 1983, received lots of honors. So let's welcome Ken give some opening remarks. Ken, the floor is yours. You need to unmute yourself. Ken, you need to unmute yourself. Ken, you need to unmute
There we
yourself.
go. That's it.
Okay, I thought I'd done it earlier, but thank you. It's all right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to join this group. I'm looking forward to learning from Malcolm's long and very productive history. As I understand the charge that Ray gave to me, I'm supposed to set the initial conditions for this presentation. I can do that because my history is even longer than Malcolm's. And so let me reminisce a little bit and say what my earliest recollections perhaps were. I grew up in an inner suburb of Boston in a small neighborhood of two-family houses. Look forward every morning to get the quart bottles of milk delivered to the front door by a horse and wagon. Look forward to half, perhaps, of the residents in the street still had ice boxes. So we had an ice man who came by horse and wagon rather regularly. And particularly in the summer, all of us kids stole as much ice as we possibly could. Mr. Foote pretended to be annoyed, thoroughly enjoyed that kind of interaction. There were few enough automobiles around, so we all sledded on the street. That no hazard involved. The mums in the neighborhood were all stay-at-home mums, so the shopping was done by them walking to the nearby small grocery stores. Maybe half of us had access to automobiles. We had one we shared with my father's brother. So it was a very different world, incredibly different world. And it was, when I asked, could we have foreseen any of the changes that followed? Some. It was easy to see that as automobiles became more commonplace, we weren't going to be able to sled on the streets anymore. It was less obvious that the corner supermarket would probably disappear and be replaced by large supermarkets. very much less obvious that outer suburbs would blossom. So when those of us who experienced all of that look back and try to look forward, we're tempted sometimes to say what was good and what was bad. That's probably the wrong question. It's better. You know, it's just clear that these changes were made because it's better. On the other hand, it's also different. And much of the time, we're unable to foresee how it's going to change. And that's not just us. That's not peculiar to this generation of people. It's always been true. I'm always struck by the fact that the invention of the printing press led to the Reformation. How could one possibly have foreseen such a thing? So we can't foresee it. We have to have a set of values and a way of addressing those kinds of changes. And I think that Malcolm is likely to shed some light on that, and I look forward to the following discussion. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, Ken, and I knew Ken because we shared the same office while I was in Cambridge, and while he's taking a sabbatical leave, and in the training, is that Churchill College? Is that right, Ken? Is it you sit in Churchill College? And and then now he's and after we come back to US, we keep in touch for many years. So.
Yes.
He's a very dear friend of mine. Thank you, Ken, for giving opening remarks at a special event like this. Next, I'm delighted to introduce our everybody knowing us in this group, and Professor Gross McKinley, a fellow of Royal Society and also member of National Academy of Engineering. And he's very well known in the field of rheology and in many other different very interdisciplinary field like material science and fluid mechanicals. I think we don't need to talk more about him. He's our leader. He's our captain of the Cambridge Polymer Fluids Group Association. So let's welcome for us to introduce our Malcolm Mackley.
Excellent.
How is yours?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's really nice to see a number of people here that I haven't seen in years. So I think, as Ray just said, that the common thread for all of us is Cambridge, and in particular, I think something that Ken said is he set the initial conditions, and I think Malcolm set our initial conditions for almost all of us. One area of science that I think we all know and learn is flow instabilities, and learn about things like that. And you learn about what people like to call in chaos sensitivity to initial conditions. Small perturbations when you're young in life can really set your direction. And I certainly give Malcolm credit for that, because I didn't even know what the word rheology was before I started talking with Malcolm. I didn't know much about polymer processing, and small input very early on can lead to large changes in your career. Malcolm, I certainly think of that when I think of my own career, and I think many of us probably do. I really enjoyed reading a little 14-page reflection that Malcolm wrote about his history and learning, and I'm not going to steal from it, except to say I think we're going to hear from some of that now. And when you look back on it, you realize that Malcolm was actually only about 14 years older than me when I was in Cambridge, but you don't think of that at the time. It was definitely, there was a man who knew everything, and we were just there to learn. But now when we look back on it, the delta is much smaller now. And I realized we weren't that far apart, actually. But Malcolm, you really influenced many of us, I think, in our careers. And I really enjoyed reading your reflections about your childhood, and also what it felt like to be someone who wasn't from Cambridge originally, and what it was like to try and become part of Cambridge. Because I think almost all of us on this line are not Cambridge people through through and through. We were from public school or for regular state schools, learning to fit in. And so, Malcolm, I'm looking forward to hearing your reflections. Thanks for the initial conditions on behalf of all of us.
Okay, so shall I get going now?
I think so.
Right, brilliant. Well, thank you both, Ken and Gareth, for introducing me and also introducing a number of points that I hope that I will make. I'm hoping that the talk won't be too long, and I'm going to start by talking about Ken Waters. Many of you will know Ken from his rheology days. And I recall that when Ken gave a sort of farewell presentation, he said he hoped that all the people attending this presentation would enjoy what he had to say and wouldn't find it boring. So I'm reiterating what Ken said. I hope you enjoy what I've got to say and you won't find it boring. Now, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Ray for setting the meeting up. And then I'd also like to point out that I'm not going to talk specifically about any of the polymer fluids group people in terms of postdocs or postgrads. I thought about this, but then if I talk about one, I should be talking about everybody. But you have all been a significant influencer to me, and I hope by the time we get to the end of the talk that you'll understand what I mean by influencer. So what I'm going to talk about is maps and mapping, and I'm going to also talk about so-called SWOT analysis. And the hope is that you will be interested in this, and I've actually learned a lot in preparing this talk about things that I didn't know before I prepared it. So I'm going to encourage you to think. I'm going to talk about myself initially, but equally, I'd like you to be thinking about, well, should I be doing one of these, or would that be useful for me? So I'm going to start with what I would call a big map, and this has got a massive information, and it's far too dense to take into to take in straight away. But what I want you to do is to look at the top on the top blue line and see how I've mapped out my life and the things that I think have been important. So if we, I don't know whether my mouse is working. Is my mouse working with you? So can you see me mousing around?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
You can. Okay. Well, let's start with the year and Ken. I've been out aged, which is a surprise because I think Ken is probably older than I. But the most important event in my life, and I think all your lives, is actually when you were born. So I was born in 1947, and so my age was 0, and this is a very important thing because it means that I'm 77. I've started my story, if you like, in 1947. And so, for example, when I was 16 to 18, this was 1963. This was in the middle of the Beatles and the flower power and birth control, a social revolution. So it's not only when you're born, but it's the time scale associated with you being at a particular age. So the year is absolutely crucial that when you start, and I didn't have any influence in when I was being born. and your age is very important, and where where you are at any particular stage in your life. So, and then what I've got is my own major influences, and the word influencer is of course normally associated with the internet and things like that, but it I can't think of a better word in terms of the people that have really affected your life. And for me, this is very interesting, and I've learned a lot from this. So let's go back to the first column here, global events. Now, these are things that just have happened, and there's nothing that we could do about that. They're just major events, and if you constructed your own map of your life, you might put different major events down on that column. And I increasingly, and as I've sorted out this talk, I've thought that World War II, 1939 to 1945, was a huge global event, although I wasn't even born, because these global events have a long relaxation time, if you like. So the effect of World War II is still being influenced now, but there's a relaxation spectrum, if we want to talk technical, and the memory of World War II lives on for a long time, and that will apply to all of these major global events that have happened in my particular lifetime. So there's so much information here. What I'm proposing to do is briefly just take bite-sized chunks of my life. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then phase 4, if you like. So let's look at what I'm calling in the beginning. And I think all of your whole experience up to your current time is important, and really important, actually. So you are what you are because of your past history, so to speak. And for me, okay, I was born in 1947, so I'm what's called a baby boomer. After the Second World War, there was a sudden splurge of people being born. So I'm one of those, and I was born in Ipswich, and the major influences for me, of course, is my mother and my father. Whoever brought you up, and in whatever circumstances, they must have been your major influences. And so here's my father, he made cement. Here's my mother, and she was a remedial school teacher. So there have been other influences along the line, but of course, in the beginning, somebody's got to you can't influence yourself. So your parents or whoever brought you up were the key players. Now, when I was 16, well, I went to technical school rather than a grammar school, and that's quite significant for the background in terms of the background understanding that I had. I did metalwork, woodwork, engineering, drawing, and I didn't do any languages, for example. So the location is important, and the location actually for me was important when my father moved from the Thames area making cement to help build a new cement works in Westbury in Wiltshire. And so this meant that I changed friends, I changed everything. My world changed, and I went to Bath Technical College, and this was in a period, as I've said, which whoops, sorry. This was a period which was a social revolution. The 1960s was an absolute social revolution. I put the Beatles, but it could have been a number of groups, etc. Flower power, and in particular birth control. So this was I don't say the beginning of emancipation, but this was a huge thing in terms of being able to able to control when you're going to be actually born. So very important. And so in terms of science, well, I went to Leicester University. And why did I go to Leicester University? I now realize I went to Leicester University because at the time, all physics departments in the UK, or most physics departments in the UK, insisted that you could read German because many of the scientific papers at that time were in German. And Leicester University was one of the few universities that allowed you to read do physics as a first degree without German. Really weird, but that's the way it was. And when I was at Leicester, we learnt all about the transistor, but we didn't have any devices. Everything that I'd done in my lifetime and my father's lifetime had been done with slide rules. So there were no calculators as such. So the transistor was the birth of what we've now seen in terms of major developments. So and we did lectures on the transistor, but we didn't have anything to play with in terms of transistors. So that's the beginning, but it set the scene to some extent. But my real learning phase was when I went to Bristol. So Bristol was a real huge experience for me, and that changed my life, and it was because I was influenced by what I would call my own major influences. And the key influences was Sir Charles Frank, and I should say, and his wife Maeta. Maeta, Charles was not an easy person to get to know, and Maeta, who actually came out of Russia, and they both met in Cambridge during the war. Maeta had the ability to sort of humanize Charles. Charles was a lovely, lovely person and absolutely brilliant person, but he wasn't easy to get to know. And the other person that had such a huge influence on me was, again, a Hungarian refugee escaping from Stalin, coming to the UK, Andrew Keller, who was driven by science, driven by polymers, and just driven. And I ended up working, sort of finding myself, and not knowing it at the time, finding myself in the middle between Charles Frank and Andrew Keller, and sort of learning from both of them in quite different ways. So my life influences has definitely been Charles Frank and Andrew Keller. So also another life influencer is meeting Margaret, who's been wonderful and looked after me during both the good times and the bad times. So there we are together. This is probably when we were in our early 20s. And here we are again at Cambridge, now with children, Sophie and Emily. And having young children, we had children when we were 22. Having young children again changed my life and had a huge influence, because I then had realized that I had responsibilities, and not least to provide enough funds for the family. So in terms of influences, Margaret, Charles Frank, and Andrew Keller were the key people. There are other names, and I just don't have the time to go through everybody. But anyway, family pressures took me to Sussex University to a lectureship for 3 years, and there, again, it was curious. I met a control engineer Dr. Graham Knott, who was working on wave energy devices, and that's where the oscillatory flow work was the genesis for the oscillatory flow work. So there I was in material science, and Graham was in control engineering, and we were working together on the fluid mechanics of unstable, low viscosity fluids. So it's a funny old world, but there we go. Now, also at Sussex, I can remember. So this is, let's say, 76. There was a science policy research unit, and they were talking about this thing called IT, and that IT was the future. And at the time, I didn't know what IT was, and I thought, well, what's IT? You know, what's IT about? But anyway, they were right. The computer revolution had already started, and following on from solid state devices, computers, we then moved to IT technology. So now I've got to Cambridge, and so I was 32 when I went to Cambridge, and was I 32? Is that right? Yeah, I think I was 32, and I now realize that I was in Cambridge for 32 years, which is an incredibly long time, and I also realize what a privilege it is to have been there for such an extended period. You know, most undergraduates and postgraduates and researchers, you know, if they're lucky, might have 5 years, but I had 32 years of Cambridge. So if we look at the pictures, I became a fellow of Robinson College, and this is a picture of Robinson on a wet day. This is where we lived, 32 Chesterton Hall Crescent, and I hope some of you who are listening to this will remember nice parties and Margaret's food in particular at 32 Chesterton Hall Crescent. A lovely family house, a beautiful place to bring up young children, and in general, we had a lot of fun. This was the fun excursion. This was Judith Han of Tomorrow's World, and Robert Marshall, the technical officer at the time, and we were playing with flexible chocolate, and that was a wonderful little period at Cambridge. I'm putting down here. I don't quite. Oh, I mentioned Francois. This is this is last year, a photograph last year. Here's Margaret, still beautiful and lovely. Jean-Francois Agusant. I won't say he's beautiful and ugly and lovely, but he's a very good friend now, and myself. And this is us in Nice last year. And we're fortunate enough to have a holiday or an apartment now in Antibes, which is just at the back there. So who are my main influences in Cambridge? Well, the head of department, Professor John Davidson, was a huge influencer. I would like to describe John Davidson as a benevolent dictator, and that is actually a compliment. John actually had a hard edge to him underneath. He looked very mild and meek, but he had quite a hard edge. And for 20 years, he was my head of department, and very able person, and a significant influence. The other person, or one of the other persons who had a great influence on me, was Lord Jack Lewis, who was the warden of Robinson. He had an uncanny way of just dealing with people. So he was just a superb way of handling individuals, and I have the greatest respect for him. Then we come to Sam Edwards, and this is an interesting story in a way, because when I arrived at Cambridge, the polymers were not particularly well thought of. In fact, the chemists didn't rate them at all. And the arrival of Sam and his high-level mathematics and his just general high level of ability suddenly elevated polymers from, or to say suddenly, yes, I think it was suddenly, elevated polymers to being respectable at in Cambridge. And I rode that wave. So I was my timing in a way was perfect because he arrived just a couple of years before I arrived. So I owe Sam Edwards a lot. I mentioned Ed Cussler. I don't know if Ken knows Ed Cussler, but he is one of the most fantastic lecturers and articulators of chemical engineering basically on the planet at the moment. He's a very, very charismatic sort of person, and he came over on sabbaticals to Cambridge and was very well received and made a huge contribution. Jeff Mogridge, in particular, and him, they developed a thing called product design, which became very popular. So I haven't got time to go through all of my industrial links, and very happy to comment if anybody has any questions about them. But I want to mention Stephen Aldhouse because he was a very interesting character, and he was there significant in the early 80s. Stephen worked for BP, and BP actually gave him early retirement, and that's probably the politest way to put it, at a very early age. He was probably about 45. He was unable really to communicate with BP properly, although he knew exactly what he was doing and had the right ideas. And it was Stephen Aldhouse who alerted me to the importance of characterizing polymer melts. At the time, they had a real technical problem on batch processing of getting reproducibility of different polymers. And he realized that just shear thinning data was inadequate, and that you really did need to characterize the rheology of polymers in a much more careful way. And this resulted in him having the first rheometrics rheometer that could measure linear viscoelastic properties at elevated temperatures. First rheometer in the UK that you could measure linear viscoelastic properties. And so Stephen had all the right ideas, but he was very tensorish and wanted to talk in tensors, and BP didn't understand about tensors, and so they didn't really understand him. But he had the right message, and in fact, the NPR came out of, in a way, came out of Stephen Aldhouse's ideas or wanting to have a rheology device that could run alongside a reactor. So that actually was the birth of the NPR. I could spend a whole talk, a whole session on chocolate, but I won't. And so what can we say about what happened? What big global events? Well, mobile phones. Falkland War is a very special one for Brits, I suppose, and myself. For some reason or another, I felt that was a big thing. It wasn't a big thing nationally, but the Twin Towers, of course, I'm pretty sure that we can all remember exactly what we were doing when the Twin Towers came down. I know what I was doing. I was with Sopark somewhere at Nestle, and he on a bus, and he said, oh, something terrible's happened in the USA. So I'm sure we can all touch that touches a nerve with everybody, with all of us, in terms of global events. So now let's go to the grey phase, which is different. So end of 34 years, 34 years at Cambridge. I had a severe attack of shingles, and Margaret says you're working too hard, and maybe playing too hard as well. And so I took retirement, and for the last 14 years, I've been living in Salcombe, of which this is a picture of Salcombe viewed from our own home, which is a lovely, lovely house, and we're in a lovely position. So we're very lucky. And I've had a complete new range of influences in there. And in fact, most of them I would put at the end that they were friends. If I look back at my Cambridge time, I had colleagues, but I didn't necessarily have many friends. And so now I have a really nice group of friends who contribute to the way I'm thinking and the way I'm behaving, which is really nice. In terms of global events, well, we've all experienced COVID, so that has to be a common, wherever we are, we've all experienced COVID, and we are all experiencing the Ukraine war, and maybe this will come to an end more quickly than perhaps I would have thought even 7 days ago, but who knows? So now we're in the now, and this comes back to Ken's comment, I think, really. I don't feel competent to say anything about the future because I'm no longer at the coalface. Oh, hang on. What I do want to say is something. Where do I want to put AI in? Hang on. No, okay, sorry, I apologize. Anyway, so we're in the now at the moment, and I can't predict what we're going to see in the future. However, I would say that the mapping out of your life is something of real value, and you can help, and it helps you understand a little bit about the now because you've understood a bit more about the past. And so I'll also just briefly talk about a SWOT analysis. Now, I don't know whether you all know about SWOT analysis. It's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So in terms of the future or state of play at the moment, I'm going to construct a little SWOT analysis or my own SWOT analysis. I'll be interested to see your own SWOT analysis. But I'd like to tell you the story of how I came about SWOT analysis. And that relates to the fact that at one stage I was deputy warden of Robinson, and the then warden of Robinson was not Lord Lewis. It was a man. Oh, hang on, I'll get there. David Yates. It was a man called David Yates who had been previously chief executive of Baker McKenzie, which is a huge law firm, both in the USA and in Europe and in the UK. So David Yates, I was in the process of preparing a future plan for Robinson College, the next 30 years, because I'm glad to say that colleges can think that far forward. And I presented this to David, and I can remember exactly, he looked at me and said, "Well, where's your SWOT analysis?" And I didn't know anything about SWOT analysis, and I felt very humbled, and Julie went away, found out what a SWOT analysis was, and Julie did a SWOT analysis. But it's a simple strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So here's my my own SWOT analysis for the world at the moment, and this is immensely ambitious and riddled with potential errors and things, and in inclusion or disclusions. But anyway, I think it's worth doing, and I would be interested to see what you all the people who are prepared to listen to me have to say in terms of their own SWOT analysis. It doesn't have to be the world; it could be of yourself, or it could be of the company that you might be working for, or the organization that you're working for. But I think it's a worthwhile thing. And actually, I was very surprised at what I ended up with saying. So these were spontaneous thoughts, and this is the world. So it can't get any bigger than this. Well, it can if you're Elon Musk, I presume. But anyway, strength, the world's ability to muddle along. And I use the word muddle, it's just that the world just does muddle along. And what do I put as the weakness? The world's inability to work together. Now, maybe global warming might help here, but to say I'm not obsessed, but there are wars. The history it's a history of wars between different nations and people unable to work together. And maybe one's seen an example of that in the last big election that came along. I don't know whether that was the UK or the USA, but these were big elections. So the world's ability to muddle along, but a weakness is the world's inability to work together. Then inevitably, as scientists or engineers, we must think about the strengths of science and engineering. And I think science, medical advances, for example, are a fantastic example of the strength of science. And actually thinking about this, and then I thought about medical advances, then I thought about DNA, and then I thought about all of the synthetic polymer stuff that I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm actually pretty proud, because I think the synthetic polymer understanding, the understanding of synthetic polymers has helped the understanding of biological polymers in a significant way. So I think the synthetic polymers have played a real role in advances in the medical advances. So I'm feeling comfortable that yes, polymers and rheology, and if you like, the sort of things that we've been studying have made a positive application. But of course, with every strength of science, there's a potential weakness, and or not yet a weakness or bad actors. And so, for example, tanks have now been taken over by drones and things like that. So let's move very quickly here. Strengths. The internet, of course, is a strength, but in my opinion, it's also a weakness. This is a really funny one, and I don't know that people will agree with this or even understand what I'm trying to articulate. But for some, the realization cash is not always king is important, and that's a strength. Whereas, unfortunately, an awful lot of people on the planet think cash is king, and to some extent, it is. So the value of cash for nations and individuals is a complicated one. Strength. I talked about John Davidson being a benevolent dictator, and actually I think that's not a bad idea because democracy has its problems. But equally, autocracy, a despot is not a good thing. So you can go on with opportunities and threats, and oh well, I think here, okay, I must mention AI, because this is, we've had the solid state devices, computers, IT, and now we've got AI. And so AI is the next big thing to come. And I have been trying unsuccessfully with the Royal Academy of Engineering to say, well, look, you should also look at AI in terms of its downside, the weaknesses. At the moment, it's rather like the Wild West, and so and I've totally failed. Well, I don't say I've totally failed, but I've pretty well failed. People are worrying about the threats of AI, but it should be a much more balanced approach in terms of looking at the positives and definitely the negatives. So there we go. I think I'm going to conclude. I don't want to go on for too long. So uh, I'm inviting the group to actually draw their own map of their life, and I'm also inviting the group to do their own SWOT analysis. And maybe in the future we could if you want to share them with me, I'd be absolutely delighted. But if you wanted to share them with the whole group, again, that would be quite fun. So I'll conclude by sort of wrapping up with Ken Waters again comment to say I hope this has maintained your interest and you've actually even enjoyed what I've had to say. And I think I'm going to stop at that point and invite somebody else to say something. So thank you anyway for your attention, if you have been attentive. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you, Malcolm. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. Any questions or comments from the audience we want to talk to? Or any thoughts arising from Malcolm's talk?
So I would like to say a few words about the word that Malcolm used a few times, enjoy. So when I joined Malcolm as a PhD student, and we met for the first time, we talked about the research, and in the end, he said, enjoy it. And that word came as a big surprise to me, because my previous advisors during masters, whatever he told me was completely against enjoying, and he used enjoying in a very negative way. So he criticized the students as enjoying life. So when I first heard enjoy it from Malcolm, that was a shift of paradigm. So that was the first time I understood I need to have a passion toward research and truly enjoy it. So that completely changed my view toward work and toward research, which I really appreciate.
Well, thank you for saying that, Sinard. I can't remember saying enjoy,
But you did.
but I did. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for saying that. And you're right, of course. So, well done for raising that point.
Anyone want to say a few words? And Malcolm, and what you impressed me is your trust in me. You trust my ability. You trust my capability. Remember when I was determined to return to China, you're trying to ask me to stay. You said that any other Chinese scholar stayed. Well, you want to go back to China. But at that time, I was very much occupied to take a lead and as a relay, one of the relay to pass on from the older generation of scientists or professors to the younger generation. I realized my mission. But at that time, Malcolm said, and once Malcolm realized he was not able to convinced me to stay and then give me a rain check. He said, Ray, okay, I believe you will be doing well in China, but anytime if you want to come back and send me an email, I will get you back to Cambridge. So that's a huge trust Morgan believed in me. So when later on my father passed away because my father was tortured by those political things, and while he was dying, he held my hand and saying, Ray, my son, I wish you can go to abroad again. So I said, okay, I will do it. So let's move on to the 1997 in the middle of that. So I wrote an email to Morgan, I said, I decided to come back again. So Morgan honored his promise. He write me invitation and still go through a Royal Society visiting fellowship. So get me back to Cambridge. So it's a huge trust, Morgan, or believe in my capability of doing different things. So that inspire me all the way. So thank you, Morgan.
Well, thank you, Ray. And I think you are in a particularly interesting position because you're Chinese and you seem to have connections both in China and in America, or you do have connections in both China and America. And the relationship between China and America, I think, is going to be very, very important in the next few years. That is a prediction. And I said that I'm hopeless that, I'm not able to predict certain things, but certainly the relationship between China and America is going to be, right up there in terms of importance. So I hope you can do something about it. It's all about people talking to each other, and I hope that there's a healthy dialogue going on. Anyway, thank you very much.
Morgan, if before and pass on to other audience, and I have a comment after, I learned your mini memo and a biography, and I did preview your slide today. My comment is related to, I got very confused, is what we are having today. By reading your mini memo, the university changed. Okay, university original, that's a place, very pure place where people to learn and to grow, not become enterprise. That is one of the a point that you are making in your mini. But now we just a few days ago, the American election. So, and it looks the society is deteriorating so much. The good values and the characters as being a human being are no longer essential qualities for a leader. So that's really make us very confusing. So what will, university is one scale, now the entire society as a country is another scale. So is it the next phase will be the entire planet or the entire Earth? So what kind of things we are going to have? Is it come to the end of the world and all the human being will become another dinosaur? So we don't know. Any comments from you, Malcolm, about the future of the next, where we are going to have?
Well, I don't know the answer to any of these, so we should probably move on a bit because that we could go on forever on Indo or American-China relations. Anyway, thank you, Ray. You've been great. So yes, keep going.
Yeah. Any other questions from the audience? Yes. Thank you all for joining us today. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Nuno is having
raise the hand. Go ahead. Nuno.
Hold on a second. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Brilliant. Great to see familiar faces. Great to hear you, Malcolm. I was reflecting. I really enjoyed. Thank you for making the effort. It's really impressive because once you go through your story, it helps me also highlighting something I learned a few years ago. Probably I knew when I was born, I didn't realize until very recently that what it means success. And I learned that success, and it's not only me saying that, now I know there's a few good textbooks about that. Success is about relationships. So your story is about life. It's about people, right? And it appears that for a moment, like your academic life has been relationships, like you said, colleagues. But now those relationships are evolving to friendship. And in a way, if I recognize and thinking why, what was really special first time I met you, although all those years I was lucky enough to work with you, I think it's because probably was the first time. Obviously, it was very earlier in my career in research, but I really felt something that Sina was talking about, really passion. And I think up to these days, people that know me and those most healthier relationships I managed to establish in my life, personally, in work, they all have something common, a passion. And a lot of people, they look at me and they just say, they look at my and tell me, I can see from your eyes. Sometimes I'm so tired, I don't even feel energy. But people look at me and say, I can feel it. It's really something special. And you are being a great influencer. Thank you so much.
Okay. Nice to hear from you, Nuno. I can't see any of you at the moment on my screen, so um, I don't know who's out there. But anyway, thank you very much for your comments. Lovely.
Malcolm, you might wish to stop sharing. If you stop sharing, then you'll be able to see everybody's faces, hopefully.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Stop sharing. I've stopped sharing. Oh, and I've got lots of faces. So that's good. All right, thank you very much for that.
Gareth, good to see you. I see you're about to leave.
I am about to leave, I'm afraid. So I'm going to suggest now that Malcolm stopped sharing, we should get a group picture. So if everybody who has a camera turns their camera on, Rulanda, it's been a long time. It's been
I know. I
far
was
too long.
going to think this is one of the downsides of the big world is that we don't get to see each other in person, but at least we get to see each other this way. But it would be lovely if you're ever back in Europe. In fact, I'm due to come to New York sometime next year, so maybe you're somewhere near.
You should let me know. Let me know when. Yes, yeah. And where are you? I don't even know where you are.
I'm in London,
I don't know.
so southwest
In London.
London. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to quickly come and bring it back down to earth a little bit, just about rheology and polymer flow, how it's been such an inspiration and a door opener for my career, at least. Everywhere I went, there was some fluid flows that I could try to pretend I know how it worked. And just now I've just started to work in aerogels literally last week in a startup as the CTO of this lovely Gen Z startup where I have to seriously dress down, and I am so much older than all of them, but hey, but it's just great to see how exciting that is to see something new like that has such potential and then apply some rheology to making that process work. So that's been and just the fact that you can just apply it anywhere. You can go and do anything. You get bored, and I get more easily bored than some. I don't stick to the same subject, but I can go and do whether it's jelly babies or aerogels or hydrogen coatings, like these catalyst coatings for hydrogen synthesis. It's all been rheology, really.
Let's do a photo first.
Yeah, everything flows. Everything flows.
Everything flows.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want it to.
All right, everybody.
Gareth, before you go, would you like to say a few words? Go on, say a few words.
I said a few words at the beginning, but before we do, before we say anything, everybody look at the camera, and I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay, so and then I will give it to Ray, and Ray will send it on. So, all right, okay, everybody say happy birthday, Malcolm.
Happy birthday. Well, happy birthday. It's not my birthday, but anyway.
No, but it's kind of a 77th celebration, so so we want to do that.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to let you carry on. I would definitely encourage everyone to read Malcolm's little reflection and biography. It's a short 14-page thing, and you hit on many of the highlights there. But it was definitely wonderful to hear that it wasn't clear what you were going to do when you were 16 or 17-year-old, and your reflections on Leicester, and then really how Bristol changed your view, I think is wonderful. So definitely everybody should read that. I'm going to share one picture that I went to try and find, because this is Malcolm at the beginning of his grey years. So if we share this hopefully everyone can see this. This was the International Congress in Lisbon, and this is Malcolm at the beginning of his grey years. I was still, and we had a fantastic time in Lisbon at the International Congress. I think that was your last one, Malcolm. But yeah, this is a man who knows how to enjoy his retirement. So it's fantastic to hear that you're still enjoying it, still sailing. I will catch up with you, I hope, in Antibes at some point. But definitely thank you for all the influence, and I would agree with what Rolando was just saying. Rheology makes you fearless, right? You can tackle any kind of fluid flow. So great to see everybody.
Okay.
I hope I'll see everybody again at some point. And Ray, keep up the good work with the CPFG.
Will do. Thank you.
See you, Gareth.
For joining us.
Hi, Gareth.
Take care. See you all. Bye, Malcolm.
Bye.
Bye. Right. Would anybody else like to say anything before we wind down?
We need to ask Sena, he in Malaysia, or what is it?
Singapore.
Yeah, it's so far away, and staying at 2 o'clock in the early morning, and please.
Sorry.
Oh, no, the other. And the first PhD, is that right? You are the first PhD of Malcolm's?
I'm the last. I'm the last.
We can't. No. The other from Malaysia or from Indonesia.
Hang on, I've seen some other faces. Can we just say hello? Can everybody just Samed? What have you got to say?
Hello, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Well, hello. Apart from saying just hello, was there anything that I said that you disagreed with or agreed with, or you thought, oh yes?
I think you make me think about my own life, my own life journey. I think I'm one of your earliest students.
Yes, you are.
And I have learned a lot from you and continue to learn. And I appreciate very much that you keep in touch, or we stay in touch with each other. And I do know that Margaret has been stalking me on Facebook, and she reads my posting and made some comments from time to time. Do say hello to Margaret for me.
Yes, I will. I don't do Facebook, but yes, I realize that you are communicating with Margaret, so that's great. I'm just looking around. Kat, how are you? Are you all right?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Are you still with BP?
Yes, still with BP.
Well done. Congratulations.
We're clinging on. Still in Hull.
Right. And Dora, how are you? Are you okay? You look fine.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm just
you're still smiling. You're still smiling, so that's good news.
In the presentation, Malcolm, I like the part that you said about the computers. I remember a phrase that you told me. You said, time to turn off the computer and turn on the brain. Do you
Oh,
remember?
no, I don't remember ever saying that.
And also the other phrase that you said, what's new, right?
Okay.
And if there is no way, we will find a way. So I like that. That phrases are like very simple and clear and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You Wen, how about you? How are you? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in biotech these days. So, but I think what I've learned from you, Malcolm, I think the importance of storytelling. I think everyone in this room knows how great the storyteller Malcolm is. And I remember when I was a still young, young researcher at the time, I would always, was very keen to come and bring the results to Malcolm and say, hey, look at the results, look what I've done this week. And then Malcolm will be like, okay, so you've got the body. Where's the head? Where's the tail? And you need to be able to communicate that better. What's your storytelling? What's the context? And this is really important. And I think that has shaped me and also helped me a lot in all the different roles that I've undertaken in my career so far. And I still remember very well that time, Malcolm, you say, have you read The Life of Pi? I would strongly encourage you to go and read The Life of Pi to get the importance of storytelling. So thank you, Malcolm. And I think this was a really important lesson for me. And I think something that I have carried on and always remind myself, when you're communicating to a small audience or big audience, whether it's internally or externally, I think it's so important. I think communication is really, really important. So thank you.
I agree. And thank you about the storytelling too. I hope I didn't tell you too many stories. Rudy, how about you? Are you we've dined together quite recently, so Rudy is the most recent person I've met of this group. How are you? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in the mountains with my family.
You're in the mountains.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about anything or?
Oh, I totally agree with you, Wen, about the storytelling. Yeah.
And nobody's talked about AI at all. I don't, I'm surprised nobody's talked about AI and sort of said, well, yeah, it's great
Malcolm,
or
about
it's awful.
Malcolm, about I remember when I was in Cambridge, I think 2005. You said if you want your proposal to get accepted, put the nano phrase. It was the fashion word,
Yes, it
nano.
was.
And I think now that this artificial intelligence is like the fashion thing. So I thought about you, like probably put this phrase in the proposal could have some acceptance.
I'm sure you're absolutely right. I haven't written a research grant for 14 years. So, but I think Nuno or Rudy will confirm that you have to have AI in there somewhere. Oh, Kat's got her parrot.
Yeah, cat showing.
Okay. Well, Ken, thank you for coming. And did I say anything that resonated with you at all?
Well, yes, you said quite a lot that resonated with me. Cambridge in general had an enormous impact on my life. And you were part of that. And Gareth also mentioned at his outset about small events having huge consequences. And Cambridge played exactly that role for me. You were part of that. Thank you very much.
Well, it is an amazing place, of course.
It is.
Okay, I think I'm exhausted now, so I think it's now time. Oh, Bart, are you okay?
Yeah.
You're in one piece?
Yes, lovely to see everybody tonight. Yes, I'm in one piece. I'm currently also in the south of France, although not the same part as Rudy. Life is good. And I think one of the things I wanted to say, but I was just trying to figure out the best way to do it, is Malcolm, thank you. Because I was sort of musing as you were talking, thinking that there are a few important times in one life where you're kind of at a wide junction, a bifurcation, and it doesn't take you very much. You don't need very much sort of nudge to go one path or the other path. And I remember vividly, I think it was back in 1999 when I was younger and considerably even more stupid than I am now. Not that I'm saying that I'm not stupid now, I certainly am stupid now. And I really badly needed a job as I was graduating. And going to Sinar's method, notion of trust, I ended up talking to you. I didn't really know you then. You didn't probably know me. I was someone who sat in a lecture and tried not to disgrace myself. And you trusted me to take on a job after Rob Marshall left. And that was a Y junction, because if that incident hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have done a PhD. I'd have continued in industry. I wouldn't have stayed on at Cambridge. I wouldn't have left Cambridge. And I certainly wouldn't be sitting here where I am now. And so thank you for not only a huge influence that was subsequent to that, but also that initial condition, that nudge down one different track that would have been different on a different day in a different place at a different time. And that's something I'm incredibly grateful for. So thank you. It's not only influenced my life, it completely changed it. I wouldn't be sitting where I am now under a different set of circumstances. That I know.
Well, there we are. All right. Well, and it's great to see you, and it's great to see
Likewise.
everybody else. I don't know if there's. I think. Have I said hello? Oh, I think I'm now exhausted. So, I think it's probably time for us to say goodbye. And Ray, thank you very much for organising this.
Yeah, thank you.
Again,
Ray.
so well done. And we'll meet again, maybe one day. Who knows? I think that's about it. I think we should. I'm exhausted, so
Happy to see
let me
you,
go.
everybody.
Let me go. All right.
Hi, Malcolm. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Ray.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ray, for
Thank you.
organizing.
Thank you.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.
How do I go? I don't know how to go.
There's a leave button at the bottom.
And thank you so much for joining us. It's so dear to me and to have you.
I'm
going. I've gone.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay,
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, leave.
Bye.
Right, leave meeting.
Bye-bye. Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
I will end here and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.